This isn't a mindset. It's a mechanism. They told you to stay calm, control your emotions, think clearly, lead with balance. But they never gave you the structure, the system, the code. You don't need motivation. You need a mechanism. Because chaos isn't coming for your dreams. It's coming for your nervous system. And if you don't have something colder than the world's noise, you'll get pulled in. Again and again. Calling it life. This isn't about being cold emotionally. It's about being clean operationally. You don't suppress emotions. You disconnect behavior from them. You don't chase power. You hold stillness until the environment reconfigures itself to your frequency. This is cold mind, not self-help, not think positive, not manifest. Just a clear system to break the script, rebuild the signal, and rule without noise. You've tried mindset. Now, build the mechanism. Let's begin the manifesto. Break, collapse the old system. Before it collapses you, you've been managing reactions, dodging triggers, fixing damage, waking up every day just to hold together a version of you built on survival. And it's not working anymore. Because what you're calling normal is just a loop you're too exhausted to break. But here's the truth. If you don't collapse the system will collapse you. The habits you justify are prisons you defend, the roles you keep playing are masks that no longer fit. That silence isn't peace. It's a freeze response camouflaged as calm. You don't need more motivation. You need disruption. The courage to say, this version ends here. No ceremony. No emotional story. Just code termination. Because the old system doesn't update. It protects itself. It repeats. It preserves outdated identity at the cost of your sovereignty. And it will keep running until you hit one command. Break. You don't need to destroy your life. Just interrupt the loop before it becomes your legacy. This is where cold mind begins. Not with clarity, with collapse. You don't need to feel ready. You need to stop playing roles you no longer believe in. And when it breaks, let it. Don't fix it. Don't explain it. Don't grieve it. Let the false self fall apart so something cleaner can start to surface. Rebuilding comes next. But only if you're done defending the default. Let's clear the wreckage and begin again, on your terms. Rebuild. Identity isn't found. It's engineered. You were told to find yourself, as if identity was hiding somewhere, waiting for you to stumble upon it, in a book, in a trip, in a moment of inspiration. But identity isn't found. It's engineered. You don't discover who you are. You decide who you're done being. Then you design what replaces it. Structure over story, choice over coping, signal over noise. After the break comes the blueprint. Not for who you want to be, but for the system you'll operate from. Cold, clear, non-reactive. You rebuild not by adding, but by subtracting everything that was installed to keep you palatable, safe, liked. And what's left after all that performance dies? Silence, stillness, and then intention. You don't rebuild by chasing authenticity. You rebuild by coding non-negotiables. You rebuild by defining, what do I respond to? What do I no longer explain? What energy do I not permit near me, ever again? What version of me stays intact, even when no one validates it? This is identity at its architecture. No slogans, no affirmations, no false confidence, just code. You build in solitude. You test in pressure. You hold it in conflict until the system becomes reflex. Cold mind doesn't care how you feel. It cares how you hold and what you refuse to bend just to keep the peace. This isn't about feeling better. It's about building someone so aligned that chaos no longer negotiates with you. You've broken. Now, building. By hand. By frame. By choice. Next, we stop building and start leading. Rule. The leader doesn't force, they hold. You were taught to lead by pushing, by directing, by controlling outcomes. But control is an outdated form of power. It's loud, reactive, fragile. Real leadership doesn't force. It holds. It doesn't convince. It contains. The strongest person in the room doesn't guide the room with volume. They guide it by not flinching when the energy shifts. People adjust to presence more than to instruction. They calibrate to calm. They mirror regulation. They follow the one whose signal holds under pressure. Leakless. You don't rule by dominance. You rule by remaining still when others reach for chaos. Let them test your silence. Let them misread your pause. Let them talk louder just to feel in charge. None of it matters if your frame doesn't move. Because authority isn't about control, it's about containment. The leader doesn't over-explain. They don't sell their idea. They don't enter emotional auctions. They occupy space without collapsing under perception. When your nervous system becomes the most stable thing in the room, you become the gravitational center. People orbit, not because you asked them to, but because stillness is rare enough to follow. Cold mind doesn't lead by effort. It leads by refusal. Refusal to react. Refusal to justify refusal to perform. Not out of ego, out of clarity. Because when you've broken and rebuilt, you don't chase power. You are power. And that presence leads everything without force. Let's put it into code next. The Cold Mind Manifesto, 7 laws to live and lead. By these aren't affirmations, they're operating rules, not for inspiration, but for recalibration. They don't soothe you, they sharpen you. Sharper. Still. Here are the 7 laws of the cold mind system. 1. I don't seek peace. I generate it. I don't wait for the environment to calm down. I become the one who doesn't move when it spikes, and that stillness shifts the field. 2. I don't react. I reframe. Emotion may rise, but I choose the lens, the meaning, the timing. I act from structure, not stimulus. 3. I don't explain. I hold. If I've chosen the truth, I don't sell it. I hold it, even if they doubt, even if they push. Frame doesn't require consensus. It requires command. 4. I don't chase energy. I protect signal. Not every space deserves my presence. Not every emotion deserves my processing. I protect clarity by removing what distorts my frame. 5. I don't lead with noise. I rule with stillness. I don't need to dominate the room. I become gravity. Not because I speak louder, but because I hold longer. 6. I don't fear silence. I weaponize it. I don't rush to fill the gap. I let silence do the filtering. I let it expose weakness, pressure, or performance. Silence is where clarity grows. 7. I don't need approval. I move clean. I don't seek to be liked. I seek to be clear. I walk out when needed. I return only when alignment is intact. And I don't look back to see who's watching. These aren't rules to memorize. They're conditions to live by. This is not a brand. It's a behavioral OS. Cold, sharp, stable, unapologetically grounded. Let's close it. Final message. Cold mind was never about emotion. It was about execution. Cold mind was never about being distant. It was never about shutting down. It was never about acting strong. It was about not leaking, not flinching, not negotiating your signal just to feel accepted. Because once you break the old code, the emotional reflex, the performance loop, the addiction to being perceived, you're finally free to build with precision. This system isn't powered by hype, it's powered by structure. Structure you chose, held, refused to compromise, even when everything around you tried to pull you out of it. Cold mind is how you move when noise no longer runs the show. You don't rise to the moment. You lower the chaos. You don't dominate. You don't move. And everything else adjusts. You're not here to be loud. You're here to become unshakable. That's cold mind. No noise, no panic, no apology. Just stillness. Engineered, uncompromised, and immune to noise. In the next chapter, we enter cold systems. How to run every decision, boundary, and interaction through clean protocols instead of emotional noise. Subscribe. You've broken. You've rebuilt. Now, you rule.